Good morning everybody and welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me. My name's Dave and here is part 2 of the finding the ticking noise. Yeah, it's another miserable wet day in Berwick. It's always wet in Berwick. We're in that rain corridor I think, so we get a lot of rain here. It makes everything green, makes the grass grow and makes me have to cut it every 5 bloody minutes. Anyway, that's the job for tomorrow. The job for today is finishing this. I said I had a new tool to show you, and I do. Here we go. So, standard mastic gun. Well, $10 in Bunnings. Always bend at the trigger. Absolutely useless. Piece of junk. Best place for it, in the bin. Here's the mastic. New tool. Silly gun. What this does, this part here cuts the tube as it goes through. There we are. So it's in. So you assemble it into the hole like that, and then you pull on it, and then it cuts the tube, and it goes down against the bottom. And what you can do is the tube comes out the back, and obviously this is a short tube. If you got a long tube and it's nothing in it, you can cut it off and run it from here. So it's great for short places. Apparently what happens is the plastic comes off onto the sandpaper bit that drives this forward, and that causes it to get clogged up and not grip it. So we may have to clean that up a bit, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, let's get on. We'll deal with that in a little while. First jobs first is cleaning the old silicone, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm nearly done. I found a helicoil that isn't in properly. I'm just going to tap that out a little bit while I've got the rocker cover off, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, rocker cover's on. I'm just tightening it down. Wobble ahead time, and time for the one in the corner. And it's tightened down. Fantastic. So they're all tight. So I'm going to leave that to go off a little bit. I have to say that this new silly gun is fantastic. $34.95 at Total Tools, and I got a t-shirt as well. I should show you, shouldn't I? Yay! Total Tools t-shirt. $34.95, best silicone gun I've ever used so far. Not the one you would use if you're using them every day, but for this job, fantastic. And it fits in the toolbox. Look at that, straight in. And it's non-drip as well, it doesn't come out at the end when you stop. Alright, so while we wait for the silicone to go off a little bit, I'll show you the tools we used. An ordinary battery drill, the cheapest chuck I could find on eBay, which was useless, and an Irwin right-angled head. So what this does effectively is you straightforward drill into a right-angled drill, and the drill bit comes down. I'm going to battery on so I can't test it, but that's you can see it turning in there. That's what happens. Then you need some sort of fitting on there to be able to. What we use like a 3/8 or a 1/4 inch drive. Fitted the chuck onto it, but this chuck won't tighten up. It is absolutely crap. So I'm going to have to buy a new chuck. Unfortunately, with it being the one in the far right corner, we had to take the rocker cover off because you just can't get access to drill it. We could drill it okay with it off, just. You have to disconnect your air con pipe off the back and lift it out of the way, but apart from that, it worked fine. I better put that back on while I think about it. If there's one tool that I think you should get is one of these. $30, $35 I think this cost me, and it's absolutely fantastic. Of course they do sell one at Zito, however I think this one's better. What I don't think is better is me dropping a nut. Another good tool for the Jackaroo, magnet on a stick. We're still waiting a few minutes for the silicon to go off. So you get to see how helicoiling works. So first of all, we take out the correct drill. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap a bit of tape around it, and I'll show you why. What we have on the top of the rocker here are 2 flat bottom bolts, and they're this deep, so we don't want to drill any further than that. So what I'll do is wrap some tape around the drill so I know not to go too far. Now I'm going to check that. Both holes are the same depth, and both holes are a bit less than what I've got it here, so that's good. There's another issue with wearing gloves. I probably don't need my gloves on to do this. That's looking good. Right, let's drill the holes. Now we need to get rid of the swath. Remember, when you've got the top off, you need to cover your turbo holes up. Now we need to tap them out and then helicoil them. The next job is to get the correct tap, which is this one. Now, ordinarily, the correct tap would involve using some type of drive. But because we've got plenty of space, we can use the drive out of the tap kit. Making sure I put the drill away because it's a specialised drill and it's the correct size. Now, if you do go out and buy yourself a tap and die kit, make sure you get yourself not a cheap Chinese one, because this is the worst kit I have ever seen in my life. It's terrible. A good tap and die set should have taper taps, second taps and bottoming taps. It should have a drive like this. It should have a drive for dies, and the dies need to have splits in them. They don't work unless you have a split in them, because you can't do it properly. The correct technique is 1 turn in, quarter turn back, and what that does, when you do 1 turn in, you end up with cuttings, and the quarter turn back just breaks them off. And I might just apply a bit of cutting solution here. When you have a good tap holder, this thing just comes loose all the time. The reason dies have splits in them, these are dies from a cheap eBay Chinese piece of junk set. What they do is they cut the entire thread in one go. That's not right. What you've got to do is you've got to cut it, and then what you do is where the gap is, you screw a grub screw in. So you can see this is incorrect because it's got 1 screw on it here. What's supposed to happen is that you put the gap there and you screw that screw in, and it opens up the die into the outside of the die holder. You then cut the thread. You then back that screw out a bit and tighten the other 2 screws that are supposed to be there down. That tightens in the die and cuts the thread a bit deeper until you get right so that screws right in, and then that's how it's supposed to work. With the advent of cheapness and China, what we have is sets like that that don't work properly. They're not designed to work like that. They're designed to have a split in them and be increased slowly, so you're not cutting a whole thread in one go, which is the problem. This is why you have a taper tap, and then you have a second tap, and then you have a bottoming tap, so you can cut threads slowly. And whatever you do, never force a tap or a die. Easy to get a die off because it'll just fall off, but a tap, if it gets stuck in the hole, good luck getting it out. So as soon as you feel any resistance, take it out. Give your tap a good clean off. Don't leave it with all bits of swath on it. The term swath, you probably know that because it's not one of those terms that anybody's taken over yet, but it means metal cuttings. Yes, it's the metal cuttings that come off when you cut something. Yes, you can call them metal cuttings and you can call them bits of metal, but you can call them, their actual term is swath. That's the term for bits of metal that have been cut out. It doesn't matter what metal it is swath. Just letting you know. I'm pretty much out of brake parts cleaner. So now we've drilled and tapped them to the correct size, we insert the helicoil. And this is not a thread repair kit, it's a helicoil kit. Jesus, my channel's turning into a correct English and grammar engineering channel, isn't it? So the correct method of doing this is there's a little tang on the bottom. Let me get a bigger one that you can see it. So that's a larger helicoil, and you can see on there's a tang. That's what you use to drive it in. That tang is designed to be snapped off. So you put it on so it fits on like onto your driver like this, and then it will turn. You screw it into the thread and you let it expand into the thread. You didn't screw in properly. Let's see if I can get it out. Do another one. They'll come out at the drop of a hat. And when you want them out, not a chance. Okay, let's put another one in. What the problem was, it's still full of bloody swarf. Run it again. Try again. What's going on with this? Another tack down again. Another helical broken. It's in. What happens is, because they're flat bottomed holes, when it gets to the bottom, the taper gets pushed together and it holds onto the pin. It's really difficult to work sometimes, but I think we've got it this time. Right, let's give it a dry down and then we'll carry on. Get the high pressure cup, the high pressure pipe on, and move in. Okay. So what's important with this is that you clean these flat ends and that the O-rings are still in the holes and they're clean, so you need to make sure that that happens. Well, I can see that the O-ring is in here, but I can't see whether the O-ring's in the bottom or not. And the reason I can't see, that'll be why. Yes, the O-ring's there and it's clean. Alright, there's a little bit of a technique to this. What I always do is I try and get the bottom one on first, because that's the one you can't really see. I did fit one of these once, and some unknown reason the O-ring fell out. I don't know why. I set off took my dog to the groomers actually. And when I got there, I was dripping oil all over the place. I couldn't work out why. Thought I hadn't clamped down the gasket properly or something along those lines. Turned out, no O-ring in the high pressure oil pipe. It's fallen out. I mean, we've got spares, that's not the problem. The problem is you're losing all your oil. I had to go buy oil to get myself home to work out what it was. I have to say that one far helicoil I was having trouble with isn't quite in as far as I'd like it, but it's in far enough. The important thing is that they're tight. Okay, pipe's fitted. I won't forget that one again in a hurry, will I? I'm selling that in Aldi. I went and bought a couple of extra tins. It seems to work pretty well. So I'm going to cover that over with a cloth so I don't slip on it. That's looking good. Right, now we're going to get the plastic one on. This is ours, the Challenger. Now you can put this plug back on. Now I need to clean it out because it may have some metal bits in it and we don't want it shorting out. We'll give it a good clean. Electrical contact cleaner. The helicals have worked. This pipe is just a vacuum equalising pipe from one side to the other. No vacuum or pressure in there at all. Might be a bit of pressure in it when it's running, but that's about it. So all the bolts are down. I think I can put this back on. Just got myself a couple of new nuts for this. So why am I replacing the nuts? I don't know if you can recall from the nut and bolt video, if you watched it, that some of the flat the shouldered wash bolts have got serrated edges. Can you see that? Oh, you can't with my glove. See the serrated edge? That serrated edge will lock this in place. So sometimes it's just worth having that in place. In fact, the two bolts I've replaced there with these I've already done, so I can put these back. So there's a couple of bolts somewhere. There's one, the washer, the washers. There's the other one. These need bolts and they're 12mm, not 10. So I'll just have to do a bit of swapping about. Now I lost my 12mm. I've got another one, but it's only 3/8 drive. And I might standardise this washer as well. One has a captive washer, the other has a I'm just giving it a washer. Now the reason they were different is because when I first got the car and I took this head cover off, I noticed that this had been repaired, and whoever had done it had used a 13mm headed bolt. Same thread. Obviously, I don't know if any of you know this, but the reason they come different is because in Japan they don't have any natural resources, let's say. They have to import all their steel and you know, I don't know if this is true. This is only what I've known over the years. So they have to import all their steel, and everything that they use is imported. So they make their nuts and bolts slightly smaller to save on steel, and that sort of makes sense. However, when you come to somewhere like Australia, the UK, America, the bolt heads are 1mm bigger. So you get 13mm for the same bolt as you did 12 for the Japanese one. And that's the reason. It sort of makes sense, doesn't it? How true it is, I have no idea. So that's the mount back on for that. Just stick this over here. I've got that pipe back on. I need to stick that pipe back on. I need a flat screwdriver. Now I nip these up to stop them falling off, so that's why I'm having to undo them. There's one thing for certain about this, though, I'm not a left-hander. I need to get this tight so I can get on with my right hand. Right, what's next? We've got all the pipes in place. I think the cover seems to be on all right. But we've now got the air intake pipe now. This is going to be fun. I have no idea if this is going to work. I hope it does. I really need to get this sorted out. That's what happens when you try and silicone to plastic. It doesn't work.